What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Pogcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I am one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Man, I feel like that intro is happened a lot. What are we disappointed about now?
3 things happened in the last 96 hours that have made me not a happy man.
A sad boy.
Yeah. Well, there's been some ups and downs. There's some stuff with the Karen Reed trial. There's I had my conversation yesterday with Jaren.
Dude, I wish I could have stayed longer. I popped in a couple times for like 5 minutes just when I got the chance, but I'm excited to hear.
And depending on when you came in, you would get drastically different impressions.
I believe that. It was pretty mild when I was in.
Yeah, we went for almost 6 hours, and I had already streamed for 9 hours. I streamed for like 15 hours yesterday, and it was like 79 degrees in my room. that made it a little bit of a slog. But I have to ask, did you hear about the DrLupo situation?
Yes. Very much so. Sad.
Yeah, so it's extremely sad. So to give some quick context, DrLupo is like a huge streamer. Like he's one of the biggest. He's was a big name all over the place, but a huge name in Tarkov. And honestly, he's like one of those people that's he was like, I almost feel like him and like Carnage were like the kind of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I see what you mean in that respect.
You know, like the kind of person that like they have so much respect from communities, but also from other creators.
Yeah.
And what I ended up finding out today, the unfortunate set of circumstances that basically led to him.
Yeah.
He was in the Pogchamps chess
tournament
event, which is like a few things that they do at least once a year, maybe a couple times a year, I'm not sure, where they basically have streamers come in. And I think that they work with like chess, like pros or, people who are very good at chess at like a really high level, kind of work with the non-chess streamers to get them to learn. Basically, it was $100,000 tournament. It was $100,000 was the prize. And if you go to his Twitter, he posted yesterday regarding the chess.com Pogs Champs tourney. I had a ton of fun playing, but have decided to drop out of the event to help maintain competitive integrity for those involved, as well as the tourney organizers. Having the main stream up on my left monitor over the course of the day today to watch other games being played led to me getting more information I shouldn't have had for a game. That's on me and no one else. That's my fuck up. I apologize. You'd think I would know better, but here we are. So that was him admitting to cheating, basically. And I watched his stream today. I watched the beginning of it. And he... Now, what I will say before we go further is that in terms of ways that a content creator has approached an apology, it was almost flawless.
Yeah.
He straight up said, I cheated. No excuses. I'll provide my explanation, but it's not an excuse. You guys lay into me. I deserve it. Someone made the comment basically because on YouTube he streams with sub mode on, and he kind of always has, I guess, for multiple years. And someone had made the comment that was like, oh, you're like hiding behind sub mode kind of thing. And even though I think that's kind of sort of nonsensical, I mean, it's not that's nonsensical, but it's not unreasonable that you would just have a bunch of opportunistic people who don't give a fuck about him just to come in and flame him and to like harass him and whatever. And the people who were like really cheated are the ones that like supported him in a way, right? But even then, after that, he was like, fine, he's like, let him at me. I deserve it. You know, I made the mistake. I got to fucking take the foot in the mouth and kind of eat shit. So
yeah, it sucks. You know what I mean? I was just hanging out with him up in Seattle. Like, you know, I mean, I haven't interacted with him a whole lot, but like, he seems like an awesome dude. We talked about, you know, our kids and like being dads and stuff like that. But it's just one of those things where, you know, you gotta, no matter how good a person is, and like he's done a lot of good stuff for charity. He's a cool dude, but no matter how good a person is, you gotta call them on their bullshit. And just like, I think a lot of people, you know, anytime stuff like this happens, emotions are on high. I think even you saying that his apology was good will probably garner people flaming you or us in the comments for being like, but at the end of the day, it's exactly that. It's like, would you rather a world where he got caught and denied it for like 6 weeks and constantly came up with new excuses and put it on someone else? Or would you rather he got caught cheating and then was like, fuck, I did it? And like, so it's like saying I'm glad that he owned up to it isn't me saying that excuses it. I can say both things. He has to respond
exactly.
To it. It's like, I can say, damn it, like, I respected you, you cheated, and all the things are fair. You know, it's fair to say if you cheated in this game, well, what other games has you cheated? Like those things, like that, the response that's happening is fair and it sucks. But at the same time, I am glad that he at least took ownership of it after. Of course, you can also make the argument where it's like, well, he wouldn't have owned up to it if he didn't get caught. Yeah, sure, 100%. But at least he didn't take, you know, 6 weeks and lawsuits and stuff like that. At least he just had the balls to own up to it. But at the end of the day, man, it sucks. Like you lose a lot of respect. It's like, is the PogJams thing a charity event or is it just a tournament? I don't really know. I don't know anything.
I don't think it's charity. Okay. I don't think it's charity.
Yeah. I don't want to get any information wrong. I also don't know much about chess, but it really sucks.
What I'll say is, like, we talked about the high level cheating controversies in chess before, and that's like a lot more nuanced. And there's a few things that I want to get to that some people in chat are talking about now, that I'll address. But at a low level, you know, he's between 400 and 600 elo, which is chess.com, create new account, play a bunch of games. It's not,
it's like
he's not good at chess.
It's like new to chess type.
And the game he won, he was playing against someone who was 1300 rated. Now, in Rapid, I'm 1200 rated, and I'll lose like 8 or 9 out of 10 games against a 1300.
Yeah.
And he was 600 against a 1300, and he beat him in 35 moves with 92% accuracy. So 92%. Now, this isn't exactly what accuracy means, but effectively, almost every move he played was the top engine move.
Yeah, was the like third eye open, you know, engine move.
And some of them were so by itself, just looking at that would be enough for me personally to be like, yeah, I'm pretty much convinced.
Yeah.
Now he also did get banned from chess.com. Because my understanding is that so there's a couple different pieces that he had. I'm just going to, and I don't care if people don't like it, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that like the things that I can't really discern whether they're true or not, I just have to take at face value, and I'm just going to assume that they're true because it ultimately doesn't change anything. But so he had said that, you know, his conscience kind of hit him after the fact, and he basically went to chess.com and like admitted to it. Now, I think it was probably pretty obvious pretty quickly. The moment you done with the game, people can analyze it and see what, you know, like it's public.
And they
so
do. That's like a chess thing.
So it was probably like he got out in front of it, but he got out in front of what would have been, I think, the inevitable thing.
Yes.
So you know, it's like, I'm not going to give him bonus points for that. That's like the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I sort of also mean about the apology, in that, like, a bad apology just makes things worse.
Exactly.
A good apology
doesn't make them better.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I agree with that sentiment for sure.
Yeah. So, but I will say that if you watch the way he played, one of the analogies I gave is I showed a video of, it was this, like, I think a TikTok or something, or some Instagram video that someone like posted on Twitter that it had the subtitle like, "I'm 12 years old," in quotes. And it was a kid hitting a home run. And it was like twice the distance from home plate to the fence. It was just like, the fence is here, home plate's here. And you see him running the bases, and like every other kid was this tall, and he was like,
yeah. But I'm 12 years old. Yeah.
Now the thing is that like some kids hit puberty at 12, some hit puberty at 14, some hit puberty. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not actually saying that kid was necessarily cheating. It was just obvious that he's a big boy compared to everyone else. But it's like, imagine if a 19-year-old showed up to the 12-year-old, Little League game and was like, "Hello, fellow kids." Watching, like, looking at the moves he played, it's that obvious. Yeah. It's that obvious that like this isn't right. Yeah. I watched a little bit of the game, and I got a lot of the same vibes as when was it the guy that I interviewed that was his name Tarkov Anatomy? Was it that dude who like sat down and went over his cheating?
Oh, I don't know his name, but
I'm pretty sure that was his name. Yeah. And I basically interviewed him and went through his VODs, and that's when he admitted to cheating because he was like a small streamer. But the same vibe I got from that is what I got watching Lupo, in that over-explaining is extremely sus when your explanations don't make sense.
Yeah.
Like the first move that stood out to me was just like one pawn move that made no sense, because he's like, I'm going to force him to take the pawn because it was like attacking a knight. And it's like, but he could have just taken the knight. Like, you didn't force him. Yeah. And he just gave up a pawn. So like, in general, it was just, you literally just gave up a pawn for nothing. You didn't prevent him from doing the thing you said, but yet for some reason it was not a bad move. And that logic for why is some like 9D chess, giga stockfish positional thing, 9 moves down the line. It's established that like losing this pawn is somehow not bad because of it's something that a grandmaster would say, what the fuck is this move? Yeah. So he was making a lot of explanations that I was like, and it just reads to me, and it's easy to do with hindsight, but it read to me as if he was getting the move, he would play the move and then try to come up with a justification, but the reason why he was like, he didn't understand why it was good. There's a little bit of controversy over him, over his explanation of where he was getting the moves from. The implication a couple of times was that he was reading chat. Yeah. Because people in chat were like, now I watched the Twitch VOD. Mm-hmm. None of the best moves were being put in Twitch. Most of the moves were the average move that someone would play or come up with. Or just terrible god-awful moves, people spamming a move that's like, you just lose the game and
people trolling. They're
not trolling, they're just idiots. Like one guy was like, "Oh, you'll win if you do this thing, you fork because it'll be a check," and it's like, but it's the queen and a rook. You don't check on the queen. It's the king. Like, I think they were just probably 400 elo players thinking that they're big brain. So I don't know about YouTube chat, but he was kind of sort of implying that people in chat were spamming moves and he was reading chat. Yeah. Although the way that I initially read it kind of was when he said, having the main stream up on my left monitor over the course of the day to watch other games being played. Yeah. led to me getting move information I shouldn't have had for a game. Now, if you just click on any live game, it will pull up that game and it'll tell you what the evaluation is, like the score kind of, right? And it will show you the engine, like the top engine move. So the way that I interpreted it was he was watching other games during the middle of like a day-long tournament, and at some point he either clicked on accidentally or whatever, probably purposefully clicked on
his game,
his own game, and then was using that information. That is, I don't know. I feel like maybe I was getting the moves from chat might not have been, like, ultimately speaking, getting the moves from chat, the implication that he admitted to was they were engine moves, whether I was reading the engine or whether they were coming from chat. But there is a little bit of a vibe of like distancing yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's up to the audience to kind of determine. But there was something else I was going to say. I don't remember. So the distinction I wanted to make, because what everyone's been saying, or a lot of people, is, I wonder what other games he cheated in. Now, I understand that logic. I have to say that this situation, I actually think it's nuanced in a way that is a little bit distinct.
Yeah.
If I found out he was cheating in Counter-Strike, I would have that same reaction. But the way that I interpret it here, it's kind of similar to, imagine you're walking down the street, you come across a wallet, and the wallet has a shit ton of cash in it. The wallet's got $100,000 cash in it. And, maybe it doesn't have an ID, but it does have like a library card. And you're like, oh, well, it doesn't have the ID. You just take the wallet and you go home with it, right?
Yeah.
To me, that is, I would consider that theft, but opportunistic.
Yeah. It's not like you broke into someone's house and stole their wallet. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I found out that happened, I wouldn't then say, I wonder what other banks or convenience stores he robbed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a distinction in other people's minds. Maybe that's a distinction without a difference. But to me, there's. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that, like, I don't have that same gut reaction, and that's why.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more to go and to download cheats and to use them on your computer in a game that you like main than to, not close a browser window or even to open a browser window in a tournament.
Yeah.
It's like 1 or 2 clicks versus explicitly downloading software that you're going to use in the long term.
Yeah. I'm with you in that thought process. Basically where I'm at, though, is that, like, it's like, that's where I'm at too. Once again, and you could, you could explain it any way that you want. He definitely cheated, and he, in the stream, he said something to the effect of, like, I've got a big ego, I'm good at games, and I didn't like that I wasn't good at this and I wasn't going to win. So the line was very obviously crossed, right? Like, and he knew, and it wasn't an accidental thing. It wasn't like he knew, and that's basically what he said, was that I felt it in my bones. I didn't want to lose. I saw an opportunity and I did it. I agree with you that like, that doesn't mean that he's gone and downloaded cheats for Tarkov and he's been, subtly cheating the whole time and wall hacking and whatever. But it's close enough to the line that if somebody said to me, man, I wonder if he's cheated in other games, it's like, I get how you got there, and I'm not going to say that that's an invalid thought. You know what I mean? I know him. I've just sat with him and talked to him, and, anybody that it happens to, you kind of just judge, based on their character and what you know about them. It sucks. Like, I'm once again, that's not me saying he didn't do anything wrong. That's not me defending that, like, I would have done the same thing. He cheated. Yeah. He did the wrong thing. He said he did the wrong thing. He said he did the wrong thing knowing he was doing the wrong thing, right? So it's like, I'm not trying to make concessions for him. I get that distinction you're making, and I agree with it. But if anybody else came in and was like, bro, I wonder if he's cheating. It's like, I'm not going to like go down the rabbit hole every single time because it's like, oh yeah, dude, you never know. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. And then
but yeah, I'm with you for sure.
Ultimately, like the way I feel about it is I can't pretend like I give a fuck about this in like a serious. If I was in the tournament, I would.
Yeah, of course.
I would be pissed. I'd feel betrayed. But like people do all kinds of terrible shit all the time that I like should be outraged about. But like I just got other shit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So like and part like it's not enough for me to need to like go into his chat because the way that I also see it is now after everything. Thankfully, there were no victims. Like, before the end of the day, it was taken care of. He got taken out of the tournament, right? Like if he had won, that would be like fraud, like level.
Yeah, because even if they took the money away, at that point the tournament was like who would have won? Like, yeah, you can't.
So at the end of the day, really, all he did was embarrass himself and tank his reputation.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, I feel bad because people make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's a mistake that like I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. I would like to think I wouldn't make that mistake. But it's like there really is no actual victim, thankfully.
Yeah.
And he's kind of fucked. So it's like he's gonna pay the price. And the price is going to be more than the actual cost of the crime, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think that like overall he's the coming out with the worst end of the stick, which is what you want in a situation
where somebody does the wrong thing, you want them exactly.
It feels shitty when like someone murders someone and the other person spends 30 years in jail. It's like,
because you're like,
fuck. But if someone tries to murder someone and then they get shot, like it's like, well, it is what it is, right? Like, but so anyway, that's that.
It sucks.
And then we can talk about some of the other stuff, maybe a little bit later. I didn't know if you wanted to jump into any of the Tarkov or Marathon or what.
Not a whole lot of gaming news going on. Tarkov, I played Tarkov once this week because the Marathon betas or alpha's going on. But Tarkov did an update. They finally added the RPG, which we've,
Oh, actually?
Yeah, they added it. So basically last week we talked about their podcast where they're like 1.0 is coming. And then they did a roadmap. And then the very first thing I said about the roadmap was they've never once stuck to the timeline of the roadmap. We actually got the first patch in the roadmap early, which is kind of wild, which was largely just some quality of life stuff and then the RPG. So you got to do a bunch of, quests and then you get the RPG. And it's like one of the, I don't think it's the law that, it's like the gun people are going to come after me. There's like 72 different number and letter variations for the single use like RPGs. You know what I mean? You go dunk dunk, and then you go boom, and then you throw it away. The law is one of them.
M72 law that I've got over there.
Yeah, I don't think it's the law, but it's one of those. I mean, it's just big boom. It's fun and funny.
Is it like a VOG kind of thing where, like,
the smoke plume and explosion is like 12 feet by 12 feet, like a 12-foot radius. It's huge. It's like,
so it's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's explode like instantly
on impact. Yep.
So what you do is you aim at the ground at their feet, right?
Yeah. And
that has to be.
Yeah. And there's like no use for it because all the other grenade launchers one-shot kill, the underbarrel ones, the FN40 and the 6-shot. And you can't blow up the BTR with it, which is what everybody thought we were going to do with it. So it's in, and I imagine there's going to be something to do with like the storyline quests. At some point, you're going to need to like RPG a wall, and it's going to like blow up on like Terminal, the single player, or like there's going to be some sort of nod to it, but it will. it will literally never be as effective as an underbarrel grenade launcher, and we've had those in the game for like 2 years, so there's no concern with it. Like, people are going to meme with it on labs for sure, but just like they meme with the other grenade launchers on labs. Like, but it's cool. Like, I'm not mad that they put it in the game, but yeah, we got an update early, which is nice. I'm trying to think of what else was on the roadmap. We got some optimizations to Lighthouse and Customs. They changed the behavior of the AI a lot. Dude, the AI have gotten love this year. I told you about that big update with the AI earlier, and then they changed the AI again to make them less accurate for headshots, and like they'll wait a little bit longer to take their first shot. And I noticed it immediately. Like, the AI is in so much of a better spot in terms of like not just instantly killing you. Oh, bro. Dude. Okay, so something people have wanted for forever is like, the quest bullshit where you have to go and you have to do the thing and you can't kill scavs, but you got to plant the thing and whatever.
The USB in the trunk?
Yeah. And then you'll kill a scav and it fails the quest and you're like, oh shit. And then you go out and you go into another raid and then you realize you didn't restart the quest. And you're like, oh my God, this is so tedious. So for years now, people have been like, can tasks auto restart? Ones that fail, can they auto restart? So they put that in the game. They did.
Asterisk.
They did not think that shit through at all, bro. So there's a fence task.
Oh my God! Wait, tell me that it hands in the shit and it like auto hands in.
No.
Oh, okay.
There's a fence task that I never accepted. Okay, and as a part of this update, when I opened the game, it automatically accepted it for me. Okay? That task is kill 7 PMCs without killing any scavs. I don't want to do that task.
It's just gonna start and then start and then start and then it's always.
I don't want to do that task. I never accepted that task. I have no intention of doing that task. So every raid from now until the heat death of the universe, the first scav I kill, I get the you failed a quest thing. And then as soon as I leave the raid, I get the and that it auto accepts the quest again. And that's my life now. Every time I kill a scav. They should have additionally put an abandoned quest line. Abandoned quest thing. Because and I've been asking for an abandoned quest thing for forever, because over a year ago, when they added the marathon mode, which is funny because marathon's out, when they added the marathon, when they first added the map-to-map travel, not this most recent wipe, the wipe before that, they added a bunch of quests to the game that are like, use this, transition here, investigate this, transition there. Those are cool quests. I don't want to do those quests this wipe. Just like I haven't done Punisher Part 6, I don't want to do the marathon thing. But every time I spawn on streets while I'm running around, I get these little check marks, like, subtask complete. But I'm never going to do it. So for a year, I've been like, hey, just let me click abandon task. You know what I mean? And then it can still be there. I can re-accept it if I want. And they should have added that along with this, because now every single time the epitome of task failed successfully. I'm trying to kill the scav, I'm not trying to avoid it, and every single time I get the task fail thing.
So is the logic that if you have a pending quest, it auto accepts it? The logic isn't to auto restart upon. I think so. That's one of those. It's another example where you're thinking about the end result you want. You're not thinking about. No, sorry. It's what you're thinking about is the kind of first thing that comes to mind as to how you want to achieve the end result. You're not starting with an end result and figuring out what's the right, best, proper way to go there.
Yeah.
It's never, we want to, how can we fix hatchlings? It was let's just make it so that you just get punished, you know, kind of thing.
You're digging a tunnel and every time you hit a rock, you're just like, there's a big rock here. What should we do? Let's go this way. And at no point were you like, where's our destination? And then how do we get there the best way? By avoiding these obstacles. It's just obstacle, go left. obstacle, go right. And you end up getting there, and it took you like 10 times as much digging to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and well, like, it's one of those things you sit down and you say, what's the problem? What's the use case? What's the problem statement? The problem statement is when you fail a quest, it doesn't auto restart.
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's almost like the logic is built into the problem.
You would think.
If quests fail, auto restart or whatever, but instead they're just like, oh, well, you just auto accept it. So wait, does it fuck up your dailies? Does it auto accept like your dailies that you might have a chance to like?
I don't know, because I only played Tarkov that one day, and I normally accept all my dailies. So,
because the dailies,
maybe
you can re-roll them like once every so many hours or something, right?
Yeah, you can re-roll them infinitely. It just gets more and more expensive.
Ooh.
So, anyways, I'm sure that will actually get fixed pretty quick because now it's not a niche issue anymore. Like every player that hasn't completed that task, Friends Among Strangers, is now going through what I'm going through, right? So I'm sure that, they'll have an abandoned or whatever soon. But other than that, truly, I know that's the thing to meme on. Truly, the BSG is on a roll this year. They've done more patches in 2025 than they've ever done in the terms of the first 4 months. Most of them have significant quality of life features. The AI has seen a humongous transformation. That crazy new sound engine is on the roadmap. Like, I know it's easy to troll them, and that was one of those things where I put in the like stupid column where like, how did you guys not think about this? But I'll take it, man. I'll take it. Nothing really broke this patch. There weren't any major bugs, and they're on the roll with the quality of life things. One of the quality of life stuff we got was now in the hideout. If you want to craft something, you can just click the shopping cart next to the thing and you buy all the ingredients for it instead of like filter by item, buy the drill, filter by item, buy the screws, filter by item, buy the, you know what I mean? It's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
We've been looking for that for forever. So that's great. That's really all in terms of the Tarkov stuff. And I've been playing a little bit of Marathon. But before we dive into the Marathon stuff, I do want to take a quick second and thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is HUEL. Yes, bro. The HUEL, their Black Edition ready-to-drink meals is what they sent us. If you're constantly on the move or tired of skipping meals, HUEL has you covered. Dude, I am not going to lie. This was one of those things where they were like, hey, HUEL is interested, and we weren't like, let's do it. We were like, yo, can they send stuff because I've never tried it and I don't know and I don't want to, promote something I think is gross. I cracked the chocolate one and immediately messaged you and was like, yo, I'm down for HUEL. It just tastes like chocolate milk. It's so good. Like,
dude, and I love the vanilla.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the vanilla's great. It's like so genuinely, like I don't know how to explain it. It does not taste good for a meal kit. It tastes good for a liquid I want to put in my mouth. Yeah. Like, it's delicious. It's a complete meal in a bottle, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. It's super high in fiber. It's low in sugar. And genuinely, I feel very full. It's my new, like, if I don't have anything to cook, it's my new on-stream lunch. And like 75% of the way in, I'm like legitimately full. Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, and I love it too because, anybody who hangs out around my stream knows that, like, I spend all day usually, like, milking a coffee or whatever all day long. I'm always drinking something.
Yeah.
But then that doesn't fill me up. So then I am, like, snacking with crap junk food all day long. The fact that, like, this does both at the same time while not killing me, but in fact actually being much better for me. It's and being like a gamer who doesn't want to get out of his chair.
Yep.
There's not really much more that you could ask for.
Dude,
so
seriously. So bro, I was blown away. It tastes good. They sent us chocolate and vanilla, but like I want to buy, they have a strawberry banana flavor and they have an iced coffee flavor.
Shut up.
I thought of you when I saw that. I
didn't even see that.
Yes. So like I want to order more and I want to get the iced coffee one because like, yeah. So dude, Only 400 calories for the whole thing, and you get the whole thing. Once again, 35 grams of protein. No artificial color, no artificial flavors, no artificial sweetener.
Dude, that's literally... I have 2 of these, and that's more than 400 calories.
Yeah.
And I have like 6 a day, so...
So it is the Black Edition ready to drink. They've got powders as well. And the Black Edition was one, the complete meal, because I think they have like protein powders as well. But then this one is the Black Edition ready to drink. Literally, I just have a bunch in my fridge, and then I grab one when I need to go. It is like the ultimate convenience. No cleanup, no mess, no cooking, no waiting. And it genuinely fills me up. Dude, it's awesome. So very delighted for HUEL. So you can start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers. 15% off plus 1 free gift using code POGCAST at HUEL.com. That's 15% off plus 1 free gift for new customers using the exclusive code POGCAST at checkout at HUEL.com. You can click the link below. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try HUEL today for complete nutrition bottled. Thank you so much to HUEL for sponsoring this episode. Delicious. So, marathon. I've been grinding it, and it's making me more sad the more I play it. Yeah, I'm trying. Like, I'm just trying to be like as honest as possible, right? You know what I mean? Like,
I thought you were a shill.
I know,
bro.
I know. I got to go to Seattle. I still like DM a lot of the devs. They're genuinely some of the coolest people I've ever come in contact with. And I'm not a doomer. I don't think the game is DOA. I don't think the game is unsalvageable. But I do...
It just doesn't have the hook.
I do think they have a lot of work to do between now and September when they're going to launch. And there's all these like people, somebody on Twitter goes, I bet they'll delay it. And then 48 hours later, everyone's like, it's getting delayed, right? Oh, I heard it's getting delayed. This guy who's smart is like, and it might, I'm not saying it's not going to, but I'm just saying it's crazy to see.
Yeah, they'll be right by accident.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how fast that spreads. But yeah, man, if I'm going to be honest, and it's funny because like what I feel good about is when I put out a video about Marathon the day the NDA lifted, and I said, here are the things I like about it, and here are the things I don't like and I'll get feedback on. Everything is the same. Like, I pretty much called it. You just never know. Sometimes you play something for like 10 hours and you're like, yeah, I don't know. And sometimes playing it more, the charm of it over, like Tarkov, the charm of it overshadows the bugs. And you're like, I'm just having so much fun. And then sometimes the opposite happens where you're like, there's something good in here, but I just can't stand, you know what I mean? So I put like 40, 50, 60 hours into the alpha, and it's more that way, where it's like the charm is in there. There is a good game underneath, but those same things I called out in the video, it's not even like I have new criticisms. They just become more and more frustrating the more and more you play.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? As opposed to it being the other way. So it's largely just like, let me pull up my notes here. I've been taking notes. Yeah, it's largely those same things where like my personal, I think the time to kill is a little bit too long. I think when you have an extraction shooter, like basically I think they took like every opportunity to like casualize, but that's, you know how much I hate that word, the TTK, where it's like there's a down but not out state that you can be rezzed from. There's full rezzing when you go all the way down. There's no limit to the amount of times you can go all the way down and get full rezzed. And the time to kill is kind of long. To me, that's just too many steps. I'm actually really excited about extraction shooters that have down but not out mechanics and the ability to res, because then if my teammate clutches it up, I can like be in the game instead of just like sitting here and waiting. But I think all those steps is too many. I think the TTK should be shorter and more punishing because you have the ability to get up. And I think if you go full down and get res, there should be some penalty, right? You can't heal to max health now. You know what I mean? And so now you're like at the tension of like, should we really leave the raid? Like, they went too far. I think they can reel it back in a little bit. The healing system, I think, is just like so frustrating because they have like the shield kit. So it's like, and then if you've got a blue shield, it goes 33% of your shields.
I like the Foley work.
Yeah. So then and then that, and then, and now your shield is full, but now your HP is still 3. So then it's, and now your HP is 33%, and then, and it's like, it's insanity. It's just like, we exchange shots, or let's say I kill you, right? Like time to kill is pretty long. So I'm going, you're going, and then you die. I've only got like 28% health left. With a time to kill that long, I cannot take another fight, like with your teammate, right? So then I just have to, I can't shoot, I can't move, I can't do, I mean, I can.
And you can't, and you're going to have to reload and heal, which you can't do simultaneously.
So I'm just like, I'm like, do I hear him? And I'm only halfway done. I haven't reloaded. It's 4 seconds. Oh my God. It drives, dude. It's so crazy. And the worst is when like you trade shots with the guy and both of you are almost dead and you just hear the other guy doing the same thing on the other side of the thing. And you're like, oh my God, kill me. So
at some point the meta is just going to turn into aggro.
Yeah.
You know, if there are 2 fighters and both of them are 1 punch away from getting knocked out, what you end up with is people going.
Yeah, exactly. So that is brutal to me. I would love to see all of the heals be passive heals. So if it takes 3 4-second animations to full my shield from 0 if I'm blue, that's 12 seconds. I want to just take 3 propitals. I want to go psh, 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 and then I'm not fully healed for 12 seconds. I don't want to heal faster. I just want to do that and then have the freedom to push a fight, low HP. And then I might get punished for that because maybe I should have waited until my shield charged up. But let me multitask. Let me multitask or hit those stims and then make a flank. You know what I mean? So something.
And Propital was one of the best things that they ever added to Tarkov, dude.
So true. And ETGs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I that's another thing. I'm still harping on backpacks need to be bigger. The economy still the trader, the valuable economy and the backpack still don't feel like an extraction shooter to me. They don't feel like they reward me enough. I feel like I'm out of space too quickly. The things are too big. The backpacks are too small. I don't feel like I'm getting the dopamine hit. They don't have the LEDX or the Bitcoin or the thing that you're like, oh my God, this is worth 10,000 credits. I gotta get out. So all of that, I talked about that in my video too. The gun modding system is an affront to modern gaming. I can't take an attachment off my gun and I will never rest until that is changed. The AI,
I almost feel like that is I have nothing to base this off of outside of vibes, okay? But that to me feels like immediate tech debt. They're oh, we didn't build it into this thing. We never thought about it. We didn't design it with this in mind.
Worse.
And we kind of don't want to.
It's worse than that. I talked to the guy who came up with the system. It was intentional. And I was like, that's not it, fam.
It's bad that I don't know if that's worse.
Okay, yeah,
so bad
fair. Yeah, you're right.
It's incompetence or being an idiot.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
You did the dumb thing exactly how it was supposed to be done. I don't know if that's any better.
The AI are simultaneously amazing and a scourge on the game. Coming from Tarkov, it is so crazy to see AI smart. They'll split up. Some will push and some will stay back. They'll climb ladders. They'll get to height to get a better advantage on you. They'll spread out. They're coded and pathed extremely well. Mm-hmm. But there's is there a term for when you have a triangle of power and you only have 100 points to spend? You can't put it, if you're gonna be X, you can't be Y and Z. If you're gonna be Z, you can't be X and Y. It's
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like,
yeah, you know what I mean.
General sort of balancing. Yeah. Like every time you have a character creation screen, they give you a certain amount of points. You can't put all the points in
so
all
let's
the places.
say they're supposed to have 10 points to put in, what did I say? Their power, their HP, and the amount of them. Instead of putting like 3, 3, and 3, somehow they just like broke it and got 10, 10, and 10. Like, there are too many of them for them to be that powerful and them to have that much HP. If you sacrificed one of the things, it would feel better, right? Like if they were tanky, but they didn't like destroy you in 2 shots, it wouldn't feel as bad. If they were powerful, but you could kill them quickly, it wouldn't feel as bad. If they were powerful, but they weren't around every corner, it wouldn't feel as bad. But it feels like they have all of the things. And that feels really bad. I think there's too many of them on the map to promote things like flanking. Like, dude, I almost flipped my desk. I've talked about the time to kill. I've talked about like how hard it is, like a clutch up, like a 1v2 or a 1v3. Bro, we were in a fight. We were like, I was the last one. I was just getting trolled by AI. They were coming out of the woodwork. They were doing everything. I was sliding. I was healing. I was min-maxing. I was managing everything, dude. I clutched the 1v2. I like broke through the barrier. I was like, I'm the best marathon gamer ever. I won the fight. And like AI just like ice skated around the corner and one-shot me. And I was like, I'm gonna throw up. Like, I wasn't like in a bad spot. I wasn't like, I didn't do anything wrong, right? It's just like, oh no.
That sounds familiar.
So I feel like a concept that they're missing out on is that there's tension in silence. Battle Royales like PUBG do this really well, where like those are the scariest moments when you don't hear anything. And I feel like they're really not, you can spawn in the middle of AI. That's happened before. And it feels like the combat percentage in the first 2 minutes of a round goes from 0 to 100%, and it never leaves there because you're like fighting the AI, and then a third party comes, and then you're fighting the players, and if you win that, the AI spawn reinforcements, and then if you're fighting the AI, and then it's like you just go extract.
And that was the best part of PUBG and the best part of early Tarkov. And the longer Tarkov went, the more people ended up on the maps, the faster everything kind of went, the more it moved away from that. But dynamic range, in music, in film, in video games, in like life.
Yes.
Dynamic range is good. When everything gets compressed to this, and it just does this, you know, you need the highs and the lows, you need the slow and the fast.
Yes. So that's like, I think there's just too many. You need to give me the ability to like make a big flank. You're right. You need to give me the ability to like move around the map, because everything, they're gonna have a hard time escaping the it's just Apex accusations, because like a bunch of like really non-Apexy things are making the game feel more like Apex, if that makes sense. Like Apex doesn't have extracting, Apex doesn't have AI, but the result of the way these things are in the game means the better way to play the game is as if it was Apex, like forward. Forward, fight, forward, get a pick, forward, because I can't flank, I can't move, I can't rest, I can't clear an area. Oh, I don't know, actually, I don't even know how to do that. So it's like, it just pushes you into like the funnel where it's like you just go forward. So stuff like that. I still think that making it a squad-focused game and having squad fill on is probably the biggest thing for me. I think it makes everything ass. I think it's a horrendous decision for extraction shooters. I think there are times when it works, right? Like Apex Legends, they did the whole BR thing, but they were like, we're going to do squad-based BR. Like where you had PUBG was, you know, you could do solos, and Fortnite, they were like, we're going to do teams of 3, we're going to do hero shooter. And it worked because in a BR, every single person on the map has one goal: be the last man alive, right? So like, you make it squad and you make it squad fill, everyone has the same goal. But imagine squad fill in Tarkov, right? You click go customs. This guy needs dorms kills. This guy needs the pocket watch. This guy's brought a hatchet, and this guy is got a 2 million ruble kit on and he wants PvP. what the fuck? Like, that's ass, bro. Like, we don't have time to do everything. Who's going to decide what to do? One guy's got an open mic with his smoke alarm going off. The other guy's yelling racist shit, and the other guy just runs away. Like,
yeah.
Well, it just doesn't work in an extraction shooter, man. Like, let people team up. And I would say put in a looking for group system. Delta Force has a really good one, and Destiny even, like a Bungie game, has a really good looking for group. Like, it would be sick if you could be like, yo, I play Void. I'm trying to go to Dire Marsh. I'm trying to PvP, and I'm bringing Juicer Kit. It's just one of the maps. And I'm bringing a Juicer Kit.
Oh, I was thinking Dire Docks. Like, isn't that a Super Mario?
Yeah. And so then you could just like, you could have some agency around constructing your team if there was like a looking for group system, as opposed to just kind of being like shoved in there. But the TLDR of it all is that like my two kind of big like 10,000 foot viewpoints is that too many decisions in the game feel arbitrary. They don't feel supported by the game systems. You can only accept one quest at a time. I can have 14 quests at my thing, but I can only have one active quest at a time. Why?
Yeah, part of the enjoyment is like having a bunch of open quests, and there's like a satisfaction in planning out almost like the most efficient thing.
Yeah.
If I go to Shoreline, I do these two things, and then I go to Customs, and I do these two things, and I get 3 scav kills on Interchange. Yeah. I've done 5 quests in 3 raids, right?
Exactly. Like, and that design decision seems to conflict with the squad fill design decision. Because what's the likelihood anyone you squad fill with is going to have the same quest? But if you have 5 quests active, that likelihood goes up. You know what I mean? That you would like a line. You can't take attachments off guns. Feels arbitrary. I can only buy 1 gun from the black market. Feels arbitrary. I don't know what, when you have a task, it just says reward. It doesn't tell you what the reward is. Why? Feels arbitrary. Like it. So that's the one thing, is that too many decisions feel arbitrary. And then 2, it confuses me that it feels like this is not me saying they like looked at Tarkov and they were like, how do we make a better game than Tarkov? Like, I think that's overly reductive to say every extraction shooter is a game like Tarkov. But obviously, you do look to the game that's the most popular in the genre, and you're like, oh, what are those core? It feels like, so I don't mean this literally, but it feels like they took 5 things that Tarkov did really well and like oversimplified them, and then it took 5 things that Tarkov does really poorly and was like, let's lean into that. You know what I mean?
And then they
like,
probably were like, looked at a bunch of features and said, how can we do this just like arbitrarily differently than whatever? Yeah. Oh, let's make it so there only 1 quest at a time or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Like,
so it's like, I don't think they really did that, but it's just like the looting, the stash Tetris, the finding rare stuff, customizing guns, getting lots of quests done. On the list of 100 worst things about Tarkov, none of those things were on there. But those things ended up on the cutting floor when they made Marathon. But of the things that people love about Tarkov, none of them are dying to AI more than players. None of them are mag dumping somebody and not getting the kill. None of them are spending 8 business days healing. None of them are AI that takes 6 sniper headshots to down.
Wait, literally?
Literally. The high tier, like there's like 3 tiers of AI. The juicer tier with the bolt, you're like, and then it's only got a 3-round mag, so you're like, you missed one. Now you got to reload again. Oh my God. So it's like, that's what's weird, is that like things that were on the like top 5 things people don't like about Tarkov, which is like dying to AI and stuff like that, and the game feeling like tedious, those things got like invested in. And the complex systems that make Tarkov shine got like squished down too much. You know what I mean? So it's hard. Once again, it's confusing to look at, because in some ways they like casualized it, but in some ways they didn't. Like, the AI is very punishing. There's no secure container. There's no flea market. They said in an interview recently that they really want the game to cater more towards a hardcore audience, but it's like, well, then freaking, I don't understand a lot of these decisions you're making. So yeah, I still want this game to succeed so badly. I still think that the The potential is there, but at the same time, I just have to be honest about the fact that the more time I spent with it, the more I was like, okay, these things that I thought maybe were just cracks are maybe more gaping holes, and they do detract from the experience for me.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a lot of times it's just too difficult, too complex to know whether or not something is I'm new to this new game, this new system. It's a skill issue. I'll figure out the meta and it'll get better. Versus I keep hitting my head against the wall and it gets worse.
Exactly.
You can't always know that intuitively ahead of time.
Exactly. So that's why I wanted to like go crazy in the alpha. And I did. And they put out a patch where they changed a bunch of things. They adjusted the time to kill. They made the top level shields not as impactful. They buffed a couple of the guns that felt that they really were underperforming. So like tomorrow, I'm gonna hop on with Bearkey, and I want to try the new patch. They removed the mouse magnetism. They took that out. As a result, like, so even in the alpha, they're putting out patches and responding to the feedback from the players. So it's like, I'm gonna check it out. I still want this game to succeed, but yeah, I'm just being, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to be as honest as I can. I feel like that's most beneficial for them too, right? They flew me out there to get my feedback. You know, they want to know how I feel about the alpha. Like the only beneficial thing is for me to be honest. If they go, okay, well, the game you're describing is not the game we want to make. We want to go this way. Then cool. They want to make that game. Maybe it's not a game I play as much as I thought I did. Or maybe they make some of these changes and the game turns around and is a lot of fun. So we'll see. Also, by the way, I don't know, this has to be a bug, but the footstep audio in this game is worse than Tarkov's, which is makes me so sad. It's quite literally non-existent. I sent 3 clips to the devs where I took a clip from my stream, I put it into Premiere, I stream with 4 audio tracks, so I isolated the game, no Discord comms, no me talking, I boosted it by 50%. The audio, I exported it and sent it to devs and said, tell me where the audio is. And like, you just see a guy running at me. Enemy, not friend. No audio. Here you go.
You know what's more sad than that? Their audio will be fixed before Tarkov's.
That is very true. That is true. That's true. True facts right there. Yep. But yeah, so there's that. The flip side of that, however, is right now there's a test for a game called Arc Raiders. So Embark Studios, a couple of guys from the original DICE team that made like Battlefield 4 and some of those guys back in the day broke off, started Embark Studios. Embark made the Finals, which is one of the most like, based on a lot of the sentiment I see online, I haven't played it a lot. This is one of the most like underrated like shooters, like arena shooter, first person shooters. One of the only ones to really like iterate and evolve the genre. It's not just like 4v4. It's not Counter-Strike. They did the whole cash out game show thing. The audience for that is like really growing and it's great. And then they made this game, Arc Raiders. Apparently it was going to be like a co-op shooter, a free-to-play co-op shooter. And about halfway through the development, they changed to an extraction shooter. That is normally not a good sign when halfway through the development, a game changes genres. But I didn't know much about it. It bust out on the scene with open playtest starting yesterday. And bro, it's fun.
So I'll say that the response that I've seen on Twitter has mostly, there's a consistent theme. Now I have a feeling that there's a chance the consistent theme is because people are describing what the game is.
Yeah.
There's also a chance that it's just someone sees something and it goes viral on Twitter, then everybody says the same flavor, the same kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's that all these extraction shooters have been failing. This one seems like it might be the one.
Yeah.
I've played it for a bit and I think it might be the one. Now, I also have to say that like my gut reaction to that is like everyone always wants to be on the opposite pendulum swing. So it's like for so long, everybody was talking and shitting about all the games. And then the discussion became about how everybody does is shit on the games. Yeah. And then all of a sudden something else comes out and it's like, this one's good. It like feels good to be like, I'm telling the truth because it's not popular.
No,
but
for sure.
Everyone is saying that.
Yeah.
I think the game, from the like 4 clips I've seen, actually every single clip I've seen has been people running away or shooting drones.
Yeah,
I will say that's but people have been saying good things. They say the audio is really good.
So good.
And I like that it's grounded in a way that space future games aren't. It looks to me, I almost get the vibe of like not quite what was that, like not Mad Max, but like almost kind of, is it not post-apocalyptic, but like it, I don't know how to describe it. Like it looks like it could be modern day. What's the deal? Metro vibes? Yeah, kind of like, you know how like Junkrat, and all those guys, they have like those guns that are like Borderlands,
like steampunk.
Steampunk, is that kind of what the vibe is?
So the lore of the game is basically, I think, like the AI took over, Skynet happened, humanity was driven underground. Oh, also like environmental stuff. And so
the drones.
So the Ark Raiders, so the Ark is like all the robots are called like the Ark. I don't know if it's like a species of robot, but it's like a dystopian, like the freaking robots are the Ark, and the Raiders are the people that come up to the top to try to gather resources for all the people that live down below.
Is that I just made like 5 connections in my brain. I'm sure none of them are relevant, but first I was thinking about the Ark of the Covenant, which made me think of Halo and the enemies were the Covenant. But then also the Ark, and then you said the Raiders, and I'm like, wait, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I'm like, is it an homage to Halo? Is it paying homage to fucking Indiana Jones? Or it has nothing to do with any of that?
Most likely that.
Definitely the answer.
Yeah, I've heard it called NASA punk. I haven't heard cassette futurism, but I have heard NASA punk.
Like it looks like almost as if we got kind of weird, like if aliens brought us slightly future tech when we had like M1 Garands.
Yeah. I think so. I totally get what you're saying. It's hard to listen to the hive mind of the Twitter either way. When everyone's like, this game's ass, some part of you's like, is it really that ass? And when everyone's like, this is the one, guys, part of you's like, is this really the one? So I totally get that. I think I can lend some insight into why. So you've got Tarkov.
You're just gonna shill bandwagon, but go ahead.
You've got Tarkov, and then you had like ABI and Delta Force come out, and those games, the most common criticism, there has no soul. Which in the past I've been like, what does that even mean? But what I think I can say is that those games felt like arbitrarily extraction shooters. It was like, let's make a milsim game and let's make it an extraction game. And then you had ABI was like a little bit closer to Tarkov and more hardcore, and they like stole a lot of stuff from Tarkov. And then you had Delta Force, which was like way more casual, but it was still trying to be like the milsim thing. But they felt just like arbitrarily made into extraction shooters. Then you have something like Marathon, and people said the same thing. People are like, the lore of like the old original Marathon games is so deep. Like, why didn't you just make this like a single player game? It feels like you just like turned it into an extraction shooter. Whereas Ark Raiders feels like you can feel the soul. The whole, it's a brand new IP, right? So you're not having to like worry about like rebooting something that other people are not going to like. And the whole world makes sense in that humanity's underground. You have to come up, and you can't be up for very long. So you have to come back down. So it just feels like it would be an extraction shooter where
mechanically it makes sense.
Yes. Everyone up there is doing their own thing. They might fight. They might team up. They might do whatever, but everybody's got to come back underground. You can't be up there for too long. So that, and then the world feels really cool. Like it feels really fleshed out. The game that I think it feels the most, like a lot of inspiration in a good way is, did we ever talk about the Forever Winter on the podcast? Okay, so
if we did, it wasn't memorable.
Yeah, so that's a game that like they did an early access thing, and like basically the art direction and like design philosophies of that game went pretty viral. And then like the early access came out, and the game was like really undercooked. And so like the game's not out yet, and I wouldn't say it's dead. But the Forever Winter was like, what if we made a game where you were the most insignificant ant? And basically up top, they're like these giant, like dystopian, like tech, almost like if if like AI and technology like evolved like a human organism did, where it ends up, but like
like an Eldritchor.
Yeah, but the AI, but the evolution was bad. It had like robots with like extra limbs. They were too big, and then there's like big tanks, and there's like basically a war happening on the surface between basically like eldritch gods crossed with artificial intelligence and technology. And you're a person 1/100th the size, and you're just like running around trying to get scraps.
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah.
I was talking about Forever Winter. I don't know why I was picturing The Long Dark.
Oh, okay. No, yeah. So Forever Winter. So this feels almost a little bit of that, in the sense that the Ark are up there, and they range from little droid drones that are like really easy to shoot down to like the big baddies.
Big fucking spiders.
That's like we did like a medium-sized robot. We call him Gary. His name is Bastion, but we called him Gary. A medium-sized robot. We were like, let's figure out
Bastion? Oh shit, maybe this actually shit. What was the
Halo?
Game? No.
No,
the game with Bastion and Junkrat and Tracer.
Outer? No. I don't know. Anyways, the medium-sized guy named Gary. Overwatch?
Yes. Overwatch,
yeah.
Sorry.
The medium-sized guy named Gary. It's like, we were like, let's figure out how to kill him. And it took us 10 minutes, bro. And a match is only 30 minutes long. And it took almost all our ammo, and we had to shoot off the weak points on his legs, and then we had to blow up his legs. And then as he was crawling around with less and less legs, then like a weak spot opened up on his back. We had to shoot that, and then he blew up, and we got to like loot him, and there was a bunch of loot in there.
Wait, so you fought AI for 10 minutes and you didn't die instantly?
Yeah.
Wow, that's it's almost like you get to play the game.
Yeah, dude, exactly. And it was like, that's just like a medium level AI. And then there's like events can happen. Dynamic events can happen in the middle, where AI 5 times the size of that guy just come crawling through the map. And if you want, you can like try to fight it, or you can let it be. And so it's pulled a little bit from that, where it's like it just feels like it has that quote unquote soul. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
you can understand why you'd be there. The thought that like around every corner could be like a Elden Ring boss fight if you wanted to, but there's PvP and you can get third partied while you're doing that. And you can like ignore that and just go for PvP. You can ignore the PvP. You can go for that. Like, it feels cool in that sense. And it feels, the game looks incredible.
It looks sick. That was the first thing I noticed.
Dude, the lighting. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it. I was noticing how awesome it was until the character went to aim, and I was like, oh, it's third person.
It's yes.
It didn't even occur to me, because I was looking at the character. I'm like, the character looks cool.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just didn't rock until he aimed, and I was like,
we'll get to that. But this feels like an Unreal Engine 5 game. Like, a lot of people. It's so weird. Everyone's like, Unreal Engine 5 is like the worst thing that ever happened to developing. And it's like, I think people just like don't know how to use Unreal Engine 5 and they're making games. I don't think the engine is sentient and is actually poisoning people. I just think this feels like an Unreal Engine 5 game. I'm getting 672,000 frames per second. It's gorgeous, bro. It looks incredible. The lighting is insane. The dynamic lighting going into a dark place or a light place is insane.
Like wind and dust.
It's got dynamic weather events that happen on all the maps. They've got all sorts of like cool dynamic things that can happen. So you'll go to click on a map and it'll say like for the next 1 hour an event is happening where like a dust storm came through and revealed some hidden caches that were lost, but the Ark are out in full force tracking down raiders that are going for them.
Is this early access?
Yeah, it's like an alpha test, like a 5-day alpha test. Yeah.
Oh.
There's like events where you can do a night version of the map and the loot is buffed, but so are the AI. And so it's like there's all sorts of that stuff you can do. Then there's a proper kind of like hideout type deal where you upgrade all these modules and you use all those modules to craft. This is one of the things that like I think Marathon does poorly. In Ark Raiders, all of the mats matter all of the time, because you need the higher tier mats to like unlock new recipes or upgrade your stuff. but you always need all the lower tier mats to like be crafting like meds. A lot of people don't like this. I don't mind it. You can buy a bunch of basic equipment, but it's really expensive. Crafting it costs much less. So all of the mats matter. All of the mid and high tier mats you can recycle into the lower tier mats. And then once you upgrade your hideout enough, you can actually upcycle some of the lower tier mats into the higher tier stuff. So there's just always stuff to be getting. And that feels good. In Marathon, it's like once I got my microprocessors to do this thing, I literally never need to look at that again. And then it's like, well, then 2 weeks in, none of the loot matters anymore. You know what I mean?
Now, on the flip side, is it possible that and obviously you can't know. Like, your answer is going to be, it might be. We'll find out. But like that could be tedious. Because like at least at some point in Tarkov,
that is definitely some of the feedback. Yeah,
you don't always want to be picking up bolts. There's a point where I don't want to fucking pick up bolts and wire anymore.
I think they swung the pendulum a tiny bit too much. Like heals feel really tedious to get. I'm constantly running out of the mats. I need to craft heals. Buying heals costs so much money. You use heals so fast. That's one of my feedback where I'm like, oh my god, let me like get my basic heals. Like I don't need
they should have like heals on the map rather than having you have to craft it.
Yeah.
To like remove a step.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But it feels, the whole looting loop feels really rewarding, and you want everything, and and there's like, I'm finding keys and going to keys rooms, and that feels good. And then there's quests and there's like missions to do, and then there's like a battle pass system in the game that feels very like Helldivers. It's a very like consumer forward battle pass in that you can grind the currency you need to buy the battle pass in the game. And then you can buy the battle pass, and as a part of the battle pass, you can get more of that currency. So it's almost like you can like never have to pay for the battle pass if you didn't want to. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And then there's like stuff in there. So it just feels, it just feels good. It's a really fun game. I personally, like, this has been a really divisive conversation. I don't like third person PvP shooters. Okay. I'm not saying you're wrong if you do. I'm not saying you're bad if you do. I think this would be like my perfect game if it was first person. But people like are really like, no, don't change it. And it's like, listen, I'm not the guy changing it. A lot of people grew up on like SOCOM and The Division and Gears of War, and that's totally fine. Like, oh, I totally get it. It's a vibe, and I
don't like having 30% of my screen blocked
and I am not
my
saying,
own fucking ass.
Yeah, I am not saying you are wrong, but the amount of times, and this is a skill issue, by the way. I am saying this is a skill issue, but the amount of times I'm holding an angle, and then like either someone in chat or I was playing with Hambino or Trade today, and Ham would be like, he can see you. And I'm like, oh yeah. He's at the end, I'm holding the angle. And Ham's like, he can see you. And he's standing at the edge of the door, just looking at me. And then he just goes, boop. And I have to remember, I'm like, oh yeah, if I can't see him, he can still see me sometimes. And for me personally, I just hate that. I hate the face in the door frame. You know, just wait. It's just not for me. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just, that really takes the PvP aspect of it out for me.
What do you think the chances are that they do the PUBG route where there's 3 PP in it and 1 PP?
I'm begging. My hope is that, so like this game, even in third person, like if it launched today, I would play the shit out of it. Like it's that fun. I would play it even in third person. So what I'm hoping is, because this is also launching on console and on PC, I'm hoping that the game is just made really well. They take good feedback. They continue to invest in a really good game. And my hope is that it gets popular enough where they feel like they could do that. You know what I mean? Because it's exactly what PUBG did, right? Like you can do all the queues in third person and all the queues in first person. I think that would be sick.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's no way, like, some people, not everybody, but some people freak out when streamers say something as if the devs at Embark would change it to first person for JesseKazam. Like, trust me, I hold no weight at Embark Studios. There's no way they're changing it from third person at launch, which is fine. Like, it's way too close to the finish line to do that. My hope is just that at some point this game gets a first person mode. It would be immersive AF. The world is so good. It's so good. So that's a criticism for me, but I totally understand people vibe with it. But yeah, man, it's fun. The PvP is fun. It's squads of 3. It's like they were paying attention to what everyone's bitching about in Marathon. It's squads of 3, a maximum, but squad fill is turned off by default. If you queue solo, the matchmaker will try to put you in a raid with as many other solos. It's not a guarantee. There isn't a solo mode. But
it's like queue fill with any extra teams.
Exactly. But if they can fill a raid, if there are 18 players on a map, if they can fill 11 as solos, they'll do that and then fill squads. So when you play solo, you don't feel like you're constantly getting shit on by squads. You feel like, ooh, that's a solo. You take him. Then you see a squad in the distance. You avoid that squad because you can't take the 1v3. So it's got proximity chat, which Marathon doesn't have. It's got proximity VoIP. Like, it's cool. It's a cool game. So
yeah, I'll have to watch some more of it. I do like the vibe. It looks cool. It's just relatable in a way that just seems it's more grounded. It's more and like, but the thing is that like you can have sci-fi that's like grounded too.
Yes.
It's not that it's like not futuristic. It's not that but it's like make it a future that I can like that resonates in a way that's relatable, I guess, right? You know,
the sound design is crazy, dude. The like impact of so like there are these drones, there are these guys that these ARC that like have 4 little propellers and the front 2 are armored and they fly around. And the best way to kill them is to take out their propellers, dude. When you've got like a bolty and you go boom and you blow up one of the things, it's like they mocapped a drone and shot at it.
You're like,
it immediately like falls the opposite direction of the blade and then tries to fly and is always trying to correct for the fact that one thing is missing. And then if you take one more, like, okay, so you have 4, right? If you take the front one, if you take the back left one, it'll continue to fly all crazy. But if you take 2 from one side, it just starts to spin.
That's rad.
It's so sick. And then when it hits the ground, if it doesn't hit the ground fast enough, it will still be alive and try to wiggle itself so it can shoot you. And you have to keep shooting it. It's so sick, dude. And like the little big Gary spider bot, every time you take off one of his legs, his whole center of mass shifts, but it's a robot.
Like,
exactly.
Like crawling on the ground.
There's like 2 legs left, and it's just like coming for you, bro.
Like the zombie who gets he chopped in half, but it just still is crawling.
And I think that's why the people are vibing with this game so much. It feels so like intentional and thought through. And even if you don't like third person, even if you don't like extraction shooters, a lot of people are just like captivated by like, oh, they thought of that. Like that's such a like good moment when you're like, oh, that sounds so good. Oh, they thought of that. It would do that. Like it just feels cool.
That encapsulates everything about Baldur's Gate that was cool. Was
like,
I can't believe they thought of that. It can't be a lazy cash grab when they think of shit like that.
Yes, exactly. So it was so surprising to see out of a game that halfway through its development changed what genre of game it was in. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I was like not expecting that out of Arc Raiders. So it's been fun. I don't know what like the end game is going to be. I don't know if there's going to be wipes. I don't know if there's going to be like it feels like a game I could play for like a month and then do everything and then not really want to play again. But it's an alpha test, right? So we have no idea like if they're thinking about those things already. So yeah, dude, it was a surprise and delight for sure. It's been kind of fun. But
that's rad, man.
But yeah, dude, that's all of the like gaming things, bro. Tell me about this conversation with Jaren. How did that go?
Dude, I had like 3 pages of notes of just bullets that each one line is like a question.
Yeah.
And I wanted to dive. So for context, everybody, Jaren is the flat earther that went down to Antarctica, saw the 24-hour sun, which shouldn't work on a flat Earth, came back and said, "Hey, flat Earth community, we were wrong about the 24-hour sun. You know, let's go back to the drawing board and work this out." And then they said, "You work for NASA. You're a shill. You're a liar. You're an evil, satanic, you know, whatever." And then he realized they were a cult and they were crazy, and he saw the light and is now no longer a flat earther. So I wanted to talk to him about a bunch of different things. I wanted to talk a little bit about his like conversion. I wanted to talk about basically like I wanted to talk about all the things where there's like a ton of contrast, where it was like what you thought before versus what you think and say now are like completely different. Now he talks to flat earthers almost in a way where he like doesn't remember what it was like 6 months ago to think the earth was flat. He's like, how can you believe X when here's a globe proof that I got told 100 times that I rejected every time.
Yep.
And now what I thought was really interesting, and I expected him, I'll be honest, I expected different responses.
Interesting.
To most of the things. It very quickly turned into, one of the things I got into was his idea of skepticism. His idea of, I'm a skeptic. What he means is, I, by default, reject claims that are the like majority.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that's the shit version of skepticism. That's the conspiracy kind of denier, you know. And I'm like, what like true scientific skepticism is the amount to which you are willing to accept a claim is proportionate to the evidence.
Yes.
If it's a crazy claim, or extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Mundane claims don't take as much. But like in that paradigm, if you're just a layman, when 95% of the scientific community goes, this is what we believe to be true, and you're not qualified to accept it or to understand, you know, the reasonable thing is not to say, "No, I bet they're lying." The reasonable thing to say is, "Yeah, they probably know what they're talking about on this." And everything should have an asterisk.
Yeah.
Which is everything's provisional. Everything's subject to more evidence and change. Nothing's ever 100%. And what he said a couple of times was that the difference between the conspiracy theorists and the people on the side of science is like effectively they are both just taking things on faith. It just so happens that one of them is right. So it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to explain that like generally accepting things that experts that are outside of your field, that are outside of your knowledge, you know, whatever, isn't the same as blind faith in like a priest. It's just fundamentally different. And that the whole point of science is not that we say the current scientific explanation is law. It's the Bible, and you can't speak against it. So one of his arguments that he made pretty much right away was that Neil deGrasse Tyson had said, science is true whether you like it or not.
Okay.
So like how would you interpret that if you had to reword that? Because I admit that it, like the wording is clumsy.
Yeah.
But I had a completely different read on it.
I mean, based on what I know about like him, I would assume what he meant was like basically what you said, the scientific method produces like facts and things to be believed independent of how they feel or how they make you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So like and the way that I kind of reworded it. So he took it as saying the science is like science. he took as the establishment is a fact no matter what you say.
Yeah.
When what he's saying is, it's the whole thing where it's like, facts don't care about your feelings, bro.
Yeah.
Which is it's just a fundamentally different thing.
Yeah.
It's saying if the evidence points to something that goes against your worldview, you know, your vision of the world, then that's not enough to reject it, because it doesn't feel good.
It's an error made a lot of times, like, to claim that science is like a religion, in that what science is these collection of truths and they are infallible.
Yeah.
And science, that's not science. Science is the method by which we make claims that we think are the best claims we can make and are subject to change as a result of more evidence. So, like, you can gather up all of the things that science has provided for us and say, these are a group of things that I believe to be true, but those grouped together are not science.
Yeah.
The science, exactly. Yeah, so, you know,
the fundamental difference is conspiracy theory side says, I reject everything that is said by all of the people qualified to make up their minds, you know, about a certain thing. Whereas science, the side of science, and obviously there are people who are bad on this, like,
for sure,
you know, but they aren't a fair representation of what science is. What science is it's not pointing to what a scientist says. It's not pointing to a model or a fact or a theory and saying this is true, and you're not allowed to say anything else. It points to a process.
Yeah.
And that process is go where the evidence leads.
Yep.
So if one says, I'm going to say no matter what the evidence says to this particular group, and one side says, I don't care what the evidence says, wherever the evidence leads is where I go. Those are fundamentally two different things. Yeah. But so, and then we spent like 20-30 minutes. He had like a 10-minute rant. Now, keep in mind, I had been streaming for like 15 hours. Yeah. It was like 80 degrees. And he had like a 5-minute rant all about dark matter. And his explanation was, we did some measurements. We found out we were wrong. And rather than do what we should have done, which is basically throw everything out, we should. I gotta time this guy out because he's gonna distract the fuck out of me. There's someone in chat. I can't tell if he's joking or not. I don't have the time to like rock it. Anyway. Basically what he said is, we had an observation that didn't match our current understanding. Okay. Yeah. And rather than admit we were wrong, we just like filled it in with some bullshit placeholder.
Yeah.
Which is that's not a fair or accurate representation of, you know, what dark matter is, what we understand about it, what predictions it makes, what math there is, what observations there are, like all of the stuff. But I made it clear from the beginning. I'm like, I don't want to debate anything.
Yeah.
I didn't prepare. I didn't like study up on dark matter. Like I don't want to debate. I want to pick your brain and I want to have an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And he went on this rant about dark matter and then instantly pivoted to like vaccine denial. And then instantly, and it got to the point where I was like, like I kept trying to, I didn't want to interrupt him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he was doing the Gish Gallop, which is effectively, and I don't think it was intentional. I just think he was like, he was cooking what he thought he was cooking. And it was just like, it wasn't what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
It was out of both of our wheelhouses, like an ex-flat earther and a Twitch streamer talking about the relative merits of dark matter.
Yeah.
I was like, bro,
Yeah.
neither of us are like should be fucking debating this or talking about this. Oh, he also got into dinosaur bones and how everything is wrong and dinosaurs are like,
God, dude.
And so I wasn't expecting that. And my like exasperation, at one point he literally said I was a science cuck. So honestly, halfway through, I was like, this is I made a terrible mistake talking to this guy, actually.
Yeah.
But I was able to like, both of us were able to kind of chill out. And what was really interesting, so it was like, it was great, got heated, came down, it was great.
Nice.
Which is like, so I'm happy with how it ended.
Good.
But what I found so fascinating, and this is something that you don't see, and it's so subtle, but imagine you're talking with someone that you fundamentally disagree with, and you say something that like challenges them in a way that's like, when you're like, I think you're totally misunderstanding or whatever. He didn't say this about many things, but about one particular thing. And when they go, huh, I was like, when was the last time you saw anyone go?
Yeah. Don't mess this up. Don't mess up this moment.
So he kind of even like reeled in, because I was like, all right, I knew I came on a little hot. I'm not trying to dismiss, you. And I made it really clear I was trying to be a good representative of the scientific community, the science skepticism, by saying like, bro, what you're saying could be true. I'm not even denying it. I'm not saying it's not real. It's the evidence. I'm interested. Show me,
Yeah.
But he kept kind of sort of going back when it was heated to the, oh, well, you're just like telling me it's not real. And I'm like, I never said that. Like, I explicitly said that I don't know. I kept saying I don't know.
Yep.
But I think, and what he ended up saying was, I think he was going back into his own, he was a flat earther for 10 years.
Yeah.
So he's like, I think I was going back into I have to get defensive and I have to, so he kind of like admitted that. And cool. I thought that was really cool. It proved to me the reason why I wanted to talk to him, even though I think he's like wrong about a lot of things, he is intellectually honest and he's engaging in good faith.
Yeah. And the fact that when he's not, he can like, he's willing to say that. Like the fact that he's willing to say like, oh man, I recognize that I'm getting defensive and I'm going back to that like kind of aggressive defense level of like thing. That takes a lot too, to like recognize that and say that he's trying to like work on that.
Yeah. There was a few interesting discussions that we had about like, because now he's on the side of the globe, but he talks about certain things to where like I don't quite think when he like defends them, it sounds like he doesn't quite actually get what the real argument is. He's like sort of kind of right about a few things, and one of the things we were talking about, it was really bizarre. It was just like about perspective. We went on and on about it. I showed him the parts of my video that had like the boats going over the horizon versus, whatever. And he definitely still suffers from perspective. Like he thinks perspective works the way it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And one of the things I tried to explain, and it ended up being like, if it were up to me, I would have been on this until one of us died, or until he was like, "Oh, I get it." I ended up at one point being like, because I could see I was reading his chat and my chat. He doesn't read chat at all when he streams.
Interesting.
So I'm reading two chats, and so yeah. But they were like, "Move on, let's move on." But I was just like, I felt like it was so significant. So you probably don't have, I think it would be a stretch for you to have specific experience with this, but it's just kind of close enough to
okay.
your expertise. Have you ever you're a camera guy, but you've never done anything, I'm assuming, with an equatorial mount.
Mm-mm.
Trying to find my HDMI cable here. Where the fudge is it? Okay, here it is. So what an EQ mount is it's used for, if you've ever seen like the long exposure, not long exposure, but you ever seen like when a camera is on a tripod and it tracks something in the sky?
Oh yeah, like you can track like a star as the Earth rotates or something. Okay.
Yep. And that was something that like Jaren had experience with going down Antarctica, because they had like 20 cameras all just pointed at the sun.
Yeah.
Just doing that.
Yeah.
And when he explains the EQ mount, so I watched some old debates, and it was clear he wasn't getting the arguments. But then I was thinking, okay, well, that's just his flat Earth wall getting in the way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to see what his understanding is now. And the way he explained it was just clear that he didn't really understand the significance of what this piece of evidence shows. So imagine, let me pull up a picture. Holy $3,000. Okay, so what are technology?
What are technology? Okay.
Okay. So here's an EQ mount.
Okay.
So what's important here is that there's two relevant sort of pivot points. No.
Love astronomy?
Yeah. So like right here,
yeah,
you can envision this thing like rotating around, right? Like there's that one axis of rotation, but then this is also another axis, right? So you can think of, well, and then there's also this.
Yeah.
There's tilt and there's rotation.
Yeah.
So imagine a flat Earth. Imagine the sun just goes in a circle.
Yeah.
Like, let's just say it's like in the middle, around the middle. And then imagine you were like somewhere close to one side of the circle.
Okay.
If you were to have a camera and you were following the sun, you would need to turn and go up and then down, right? Like you would need to turn and tilt.
Yep.
To follow it, right?
Yep.
So the significance is that when you look at the EQ mount, when it follows anything in the sky, and it's locked onto something, all of the axes except for one are locked. And yet it works. So the thing follows the thing in the sky, and it never tilts. It just goes like this.
Yeah.
And so geometrically, like ignore perspective, ignore optics, just like you could do this with like foam balls, a pencil you stick in.
Yeah.
It only works on a sphere.
Yeah.
And I was trying to show him one of these videos. So like, if you look at here, what you'll see is, see how it has to turn and look up?
Oh, yeah.
And then look down?
Yeah. I see what you mean now. Yeah, to track the sun on a flat Earth.
Whereas on a globe, because it's spinning and round, it literally only moves on one.
Yeah.
So the point is the fact that this piece of hardware works.
Yep.
By itself is a demonstration just geometrically.
Yep.
Now, he and what he kept going to was imagine on a flat Earth, there's a perfect circle around you, and you're in the equator, not the equator, you're in the North Pole, which is just the center.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, then it wouldn't have to tilt. It's like, so the EQ mount would work on a flat Earth in one place and one place only.
Yeah.
But he kept going back to, it works in this one place. And I'm like, yeah, but EQ mounts work in reality everywhere.
Yeah.
So he didn't get that. But then he also, dude, and this was like, it just hurt my brain so much, dude. Watch the sun right here and ask yourself, have you ever seen the sun do this?
Yeah. Every day, bro.
And what he said was, well, of course it's not going to work, dude. Look at what the sun's doing. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point. He never got far enough to think about geometrically, like literally think about it. If you're standing in a spot on a dinner plate and there's a thing going in circles over your head,
yeah,
that's what it would look like.
Yeah, you would see it move left to right more than up and down.
So the fact that that's not what we see should be an indication to you. But he was like, but that's not what the sun looks like, bro. So your demonstration obviously isn't accurate. And it's like, no, the demonstration is accurate. Man. The model it's demonstrating isn't. But he's like, but it's like straw manning the flat Earth. And I'm like, no, the problem is that you've never just thought about the implications of what the flat Earth would look like.
Dude,
so he still doesn't fully understand.
That's
like
brutal.
What's the why the flat Earth is flawed?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's like gravity doesn't pull at 9.8 feet per second. It's double that. And then you were like, well, if it was double that, we would weigh twice as much. And he goes, no, but we don't weigh that much. And it's like, no, yeah. So gravity isn't that. And you go, no, but it's double that. And it's like, but if that circle is crazy where it's like, we're on a flat Earth. And it's like, yeah, but if it was a flat Earth, you'd see the sun do that. And he was like, no, stupid. That's not how the sun looks. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Yeah. So, and he kept doing that. He kept like, and it's just like, I don't know if this is, I feel like it's his brain going, like he said, going back into like defense mode where he's like, I have to make sense of this. I have to, like, so when we were talking about this, imagine on a flat plane, imagine rather than it being like a halo, it was like a hula hoop that was tilted like this.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
He's like, well, then it would work because then you'd be following it. And what his point was if it was like a hula hoop, that's what the sun actually looks like because it does this and then it goes behind the.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like, what you're describing is a sun that's orbiting like this. But why is it that in your picture, the sun's doing this? So which is it? He's like, yeah, but when we look out, we see it do that. And I'm like, yeah.
You're a better man than me, Veritas.
He just couldn't put his like head, the camera on the little guy that he. So it was just really frustrating because it's like you're right for one right reason and for a bunch of other wrong reasons.
Yeah. Is there any theories in the flat Earth, the world, that on the underside of the Earth is like a whole other species of humans that live in the dark?
No.
Why not? But that would be sick.
One of the because that would be against the Bible doesn't say that, So their idea is
sick though.
Is like the ice wall is. We are just like a lily pad on an infinite pond. Our world is,
and there's like more worlds. Yeah.
It's infinite land. So that's a lot of them say like all the alien craft, they're not coming from other planets. It's like you fucking Tesseralia or whatever, like the
like
neighboring.
East. Just keep going east.
You just keep going, and that's where. And it's funny they have maps. It's like some George R.R. Martin shit, but like done in crayon.
God.
Where they have like names for all these like islands and they call them like Mars and Venus. It's like, it's crazy shit. It's crazy shit.
I have heard the infinite land thing. Yeah. It's like almost like Silo. You watch Silo where like it's like there's nothingness in between the silos, but then you'll hit another like planet where like a bunch of people live. Like we have our ice wall, and then there's like this land, but it's nothing. But then you'll probably hit a different ice wall, and if you got over that, you'd be on a new planet.
Yeah, and he still doesn't understand gravity. He still doesn't understand why he interprets like he thinks that a bowling ball should fall faster than a feather.
Yeah.
Which is a reasonable thing to think, because you would think, it's more gravity.
Yeah.
Because it's more mass, so it should move faster. But it's a misunderstanding of the formula. Because the formula says is the force of gravity is equal to mass, distance, in that relationship. But he's thinking that when you change the mass, that should change the speed.
Yeah.
Like but he doesn't realize that like the G in the equation.
Yeah.
For like, there's the acceleration.
Yeah.
But he's mixing up the acceleration and the gravity. The difference is that it takes more of the gravitational force to move the bowling ball to then be the same speed as the feather.
Yeah.
But it's 9.8 meters per second squared. And
I remember that being like a moment where I was like, that doesn't make sense. I remember seeing a video. Do they do it in vacuum chambers so there's no air resistance on the feather? Is that how they normally?
They did it on the vacuum chambers, and they also did it on the moon with a hammer and a feather.
Yeah, but it's like I remember seeing that and like really having to be like, what the fuck? Like, but then ultimately it making sense and it expanding my understanding of gravity. Once again, I don't think I could explain it very well, but I'm at the point where I understand that a bowling ball and a feather fall at the same speed, you know what I mean, without the air resistance and stuff like that. So I can understand that that some of those things feel so intuitively wrong, because there's something to be said for like the reality that you perceive and the reality that allows you to perceive those things.
Yeah.
Right? Like a bowling ball and a feather never fall at the same rate when just dropped from the top of a ladder. And so there is like, I get that. Like, I get that, for a really long time in our history, we never broke far past the perceived world. You know what I mean? So there are times where it feels really like wrong to believe this thing, but these are the explanations for how the perceived world is perceived. You know what I mean? It's like,
there's this interesting like commonality. There's like a common thread that I want to pull on a little bit, where, and it happened with the equatorial mount, it happened with the perspective thing, it happened with his understanding of gravity in general, but also the dark matter gravity thing, is that like, what we're like pointing to one variable in an equation and we're saying like this is the thing to look at, and what he always ends up doing is like looking at the wrong variable in a weird way. Like there's this common thing. So in that example, he's conflating the force, which is one of the variables, with like the resulting acceleration. He sees, if you change the force, then that must change the acceleration.
Yeah.
He's looking at it backwards, where it's like, no, in order to keep the constant acceleration that we know is a thing, the force needs to change. So he's like, he's turning the wrong dial.
Yeah.
And you can, so, and it was the same thing with, like, he thinks that, part of the whole thing about dark matter and what he thinks is like pseudoscience was that he thinks that it debunked gravity. And so what we should have done is throw out gravity, not put a big Band-Aid on it. And but his problem is that when we looked out and we saw like galaxies rotating in a way that effectively didn't match up with what we calculated.
Yeah.
He assumed the formula's wrong.
Yeah.
When really the real answer is one of the values we put in for one of the variables was wrong.
Yeah.
And that was the assumed mass, because we looked and we said there's all of this. We know the mass of all the stuff we can see. We'd expect it to turn at 2 meters per 2 units per whatever the fuck. But instead it's 4. Now, one possible explanation is our equation's wrong. Another possible explanation is maybe there's more mass there.
Yeah.
And we didn't that wasn't some ad hoc thing. There was a number of converging evidences that all made us realize, okay, there's this mass we're unaware of.
The equation.
2 units per what the fuck?
U/WTF, 2 units per whatever the fuck. No, yeah, and it's like, and it's so hard when that's the response to it, when his response, because to you and me, that is the beauty of science. Like, that's the point, is that we're like, okay, well, we have this evidence that kind of points in this direction. So what if it's this? It's not that. Oh, it's not just like, well, fuck me, we suck, throw it all away. It's like, oh, well, why else? We still think these things. Well, what could have caused it to be that? Maybe it's this, maybe the it's, and then, oh my God, we found dark matter. And we're like, oh shit, now we have to, like, that is the point. You know what I mean? Like, you can be wrong and right at the same time. You can be wrong about a couple of the things, but be on the right path and then ask better questions because you figured out you were wrong about what you thought this thing. And it's like, that's it, man. That's the cool part. Figuring out that, like, we were almost there, but we didn't quite get it. And because this equation came back wrong, now we have to figure out why. And then when we do, we figure out something that helps people or helps us, or like, that's the cool part. Don't shut that down. Like,
and that's the refinement. If we come up with a formula and we plug in 800 trillion observations into the formula, it spits out the right answer. And then we put another one in with an assumption about one of the values, and we get the answer that's wrong. Do we just throw out the equation? Forget about the fact that it has done, like, explanatorily, it has, like, infinitely more I'm like struggling with this sentence. Holy fuck. It has been extremely successful.
Yeah.
Effectively flawless at comporting with all of our observations.
Yeah.
Which is like the biggest demonstration.
Yeah.
It's more likely that one of the numbers that was an assumption is wrong than the whole formula is wrong.
Yeah.
And so then when we improve it, when we tweak it, he sees that as, see, that's why it's not science.
You were wrong. And it's like,
so, and he was just completely rejecting the idea that, like, and this is one of the more common things with pseudoscience, is every crank scientist, they all see themselves as Galileo. They all have the truth, and they are against this establishment that is so rigidly adhering to a thing you have to believe. That's why it's being rejected. Yeah. It couldn't possibly be, I'm a crank and I'm wrong, and everyone is rejecting it because I'm an idiot, and I brought crayon drawings to the art museum.
Yep.
It couldn't be that.
Yeah.
Now again, that's not to say that there have been times, and ironically enough, I told him this, and I was like, you realize that, like, the woman who kind of initially had proposed this idea of dark matter, I'm pretty sure it was, I have to double check the history, but my understanding, I think it was like a woman that had basically like done the calculations, figured out that there was this mass missing, and effectively said, hey, there's maybe an explanation for the mass. And she was like laughed and it was rejected for a while until it basically came from a man.
Yeah.
At a slightly different time, then they took it more seriously. And then now it's kind of our, best working explanation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the example that you're saying is actually an example of the opposite.
Yes.
It was against the status quo. It was rejected, but ultimately the self-correcting nature of science brought it up.
Yep.
But he just sees whatever is the scientific community's thing, it's always the thing. So you can never go against it. Well, it's because if there was enough evidence that they would accept it, it wouldn't be the like up and coming theory. Yeah. It would be the thing that now you would reject as being the thing that's preventing everything else from. So,
yeah,
bro. So I ultimately, like, I have a crazy amount of admiration for him, a ton of respect. And honestly, one of the things he said, and it was probably one of the most important things, and it was really, I think, genuinely honest, is he kind of was like, my brain has been so fucked for the last 10 years, and all of you Globers expect me to just change my mind about everything, like flip-flop completely.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to give me time. And I'm like, agreed. People shouldn't be saying, oh, you don't accept the globe, you're a fucking moron. Or, sorry, you don't accept the moon landing, you're a fucking moron. What we need to do is, okay, let's talk about it, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Because just, like, he's the guy that we need to treat the best. Because he's the most fragile, the most, like, he's done the hardest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Which is admit you were wrong and misleading people for 10 years.
Yep.
And to do so at your own cost. He lost like half of his subscribers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to basically say, like, don't let the shitty people, like 95% of people aren't flat earthers. And most people are morons and douchebags. So that means most of the morons and douchebags are going to be Globers.
Yeah.
So don't let them turn you away.
Yeah.
You are reasonable to be skeptical of things. Here's how I think you should think about skepticism and think about science.
Yeah.
And take all the time you need, whatever. So, and he was like, you put together a few things that you want to talk about again, and like, let's do this again.
Nice.
So, I honestly did. I was like, he's not going to want to talk to me. Like,
yeah.
But luckily, I think like things ended really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, halfway through, I was like, I made a big mistake.
Bro.
Like his chat was like spamming like he's going to be a flat earther again after this conversation, and I like legitimately had like pit in my stomach feeling where I'm like, holy fuck, how is this possible?
I've seen this before. This would be like, you and him should start a podcast. I've seen this before where like a really religious person and a not religious person at all that like are genuinely friends and like respect each other enough to they know they could have it was like someone on the far left and far right that like they were like, we are adult enough to like be able to have a conversation. They started a podcast, and like that's the content. It's like them constantly like disagreeing, but in a way that means you can still treat.
Was it Luke Beasley and that brunette chick?
It might be.
They don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Okay, but that idea made me think. I was like, yo, like if you and him started a podcast where like every week you just went over this thing, it would be you guys like disagreeing all the time, but in a like human way. And in a way where like you want to be like, let's talk about it. In a way where he would be like, okay, I'm trying here, man. You got to give me time. And like that would be content, bro.
Yeah, and I almost kind of wish like the hard thing is that like I'm in the unfortunate position of being on the side of a million smart experts that have been standing on the shoulders of giants for thousands of years or whatever. So it's like, I take no credit for this, but like, you know, chances are, and again, could be wrong, but chances are the vast majority of the things I accept are true are probably pretty close to being, you know, the answer. And he's on the side of probably the opposite, where I almost feel like it's, you know, 10%. And he did kind of acknowledge that a little bit, but it's like, I almost wish that I could like demonstrate that I'm coming at this in good faith and that like I want to have my mind changed about something. I just don't think that all of the things that he's right about are probably the things he agrees with me about. You know, like, so I wish there was just something. He challenged me to do this experiment. And it's like, the fucking dude, I very much don't want to. And I feel like if I was going to, I would have to make content out of it, but
what's the experiment?
Fuck. So we were talking about this is in the context of like whether the supernatural exists. And it was really interesting because like he was really religious and then, you know, kind of became probably like not really a good atheist because he's like, I realized that was just as much of a religion. It's like you were on the bullshit wish.com version. So then he became like a deist. And I'm like, okay, like I understand, not the craziest position, not unreasonable. But he also said he's like, I'm pretty sure I'm convinced that like the supernatural doesn't exist. And I was like, I'm really surprised, you know? So, and I was talking about how like, if the supernatural is by definition, it doesn't interact with the natural world, then how could like our things that only measure the natural world detect it? Well, one of the things he came up with that he said he did twice, and the results came up in a very specific way. Take, I think he said cooked rice, and put cooked rice, the same amount, in 3 different, I'm picturing like mason jars.
Okay.
And puts, you know, 3 labels on it. One of them is a control. One of them says love. The other says hate. And once a day, take one of the jars, take the love jar, go on the other side of your house, and just say nice, loving things.
Oh my God, please do this.
And then you do the same thing with the hate, you fucking, you know, whatever. And he was like, after, you know, X amount of days, the hate jar, it's like moldy and rotten and black.
Please, bro, please do it. I just want to know that every morning you're like, you fucking rice, you son of a bitch rice.
So like, you know, the worst part is that like that wouldn't actually take, like I could probably start that now and finish it before I would be able to finish my video on the fucking dead internet or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get sidetracked. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that.
That's a goated, TikTok series. You just like start a brand new TikTok account and just every day you post a video like day 1 of 365 talking.
The final rice experiment.
Yeah, dude. Yes, bro. Day 1 of it's all the days, you know, day 30 of 365 yelling at my rice. And then every day you post 2 videos and it's day 37 of me giving compliments to my rice. And then you just
know what I would have to do? I would have to have like ChatGPT write me some sick, hilarious roast. You stupid fucking grain piece of shit. Know what you're
oh my
you were
God.
The famine in the 17th century, you know, like whatever.
Dude. Dude. Like, bro, some of those would go crazy. And then like, what if at the end the freaking hate rice was worse and the love rice was like totally fine? What if you nurtured the love rice the whole time?
My guess is that there's a 33% chance You know, like one of them is gonna go. They're all gonna go bad.
Yeah, but one of them's
just
gonna
one
go
of them's
worse.
gonna go bad first. But you know what he was saying was like, oh, you know what? I feel like, you know, like we give off, there's vibrations or some kind of energy, and I'm like, well, you realize that what you're describing is like a thing that some kind of device would measure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interacting with your brain cells, like so. And he's like, I guess yeah, that wouldn't be supernatural. It's like, yeah, it would just be natural. It's kind of like alternative medicine. We don't need that category because if it worked, it would just be medicine.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you gotta do the rice thing.
Yeah, maybe I will.
You gotta do the rice thing, but do it with like 10 controls to help with the chances, right? Like 10 controls.
You can't have 10.
Is why?
Well, because that would make it more. That would be. You'd be swaying the results too far in the way of. Oh wait. Let me think.
Because if the
no, I think you might be right.
If the hypothesis is the vibes change it, then doesn't matter. Because he's not saying the vibes change about like 33%. Then you would have to have, you know, an equal amount of everything. But just if the vibes change it, it doesn't matter how many controls, you're sending vibes to this one and vibes to this one. So like you would have an opportunity to do like the bait and switch where you were like, I did it and the hate one was bad. It was the worst of the 3. But I had 10 more controls and 8 of these other ones are worse than a hate one. You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah, and then I also should making my own version of this test. One blind one where I have my wife. We nailed it right at the end.
Dude, 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Either, you know, pick up out of a hat.
Yes.
One of the things, or she could just decide. And so she takes the jar into the room and have her like record. You know, she probably wouldn't want to be on camera, but like record her voice. And so I wouldn't know what the emotion that she was projecting into it was. Interesting. Yeah, it'd be hilarious hearing my wife be like, you dumb piece of shit jar of rice. Like,
dude, and then you do one, which is like the emotional abuse jar, where every day you flip-flop. I'm sorry I said those things yesterday. I didn't really mean it. And then the next day you're like, you fucking piece of shit. I always knew you were and you just flip-flop and see if that does anything.
Yeah.
Dude, we can make this happen.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I actually do remember that. Mythbusters did this with plants. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they did. But it's one of those things like I feel like what it was from him, that was almost him saying, are you really willing to put your money where your mouth is? And honestly, the fact that one of the things I admire about him most, because he's the flat earther that was in the documentary that he like debunked flat earth.
Yeah.
But that was actually, and I believe him when he says it was like unfairly edited.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But he's repeatedly gone out and done experiments and like in good faith. All these other people, they pretend like they've done them. They say you can do them, just do this, but they've never done them. He, you know, the fact that he went out, did an experiment, and then was consistent with the results was like, oh, okay, you know, so that's really admirable. You know, it would be hypocritical of me to just, I mean, it's not exactly the same because I know this has been done before and I know all the ways in which, you know, so I kind of already know the results beforehand, but that's what you would think if you were also brainwashed. So, you know,
yeah.
That was, and this is the last thing I'll say on this. That was the one thing that made him distrust science. He talked about the documentary that edited him unfairly.
Yeah.
There was a PBS documentary that it featured Stephen Hawking And they did something having to do with a helicopter and I think with the horizon. And for whatever reason, they ended up using, like, replacing part of it with like CGI. Honestly, the real reason, and he even agrees that the real reason was probably they went to go edit the shit. They didn't have the shot right. They never got it. And they're not going to go and charter another helicopter and go back out. So they probably were just like, we'll just fake it because, like, we know the right answer.
Yeah.
But he pointed to all of these things and kept saying, why would science have to lie to us? He's like, that's the reason why I was a flat earther. We kept being lied to by science. And I said, the producers and editors at PBS aren't science.
Yeah.
The guys who made the documentary are not science.
Yep.
Those are just suits and business people.
Yep.
The scientific community didn't do that. And he's like, well, then why won't the scientific community spend $100 million to put a live stream on the moon? And I was like, you don't accept the live stream in the ISS. And all you came back from the Antarctica and the flat earthers rejected completely
the live stream on Antarctica. Yeah.
And he even admitted he thinks that only about 5% of the flat earth community are like on his side when he came back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so that means that 95% of the people would reject the evidence that you do a live stream and do video and you're a known entity on Earth. And you think that anyone's going to have their mind changed if there's a video on the moon
of effectively a JPEG?
Yeah. And he was like, felt very strongly that they were not the same things. And for some reason, he was so confident that like that would like prove
a live stream
like,
on the moon.
I'm like, brother, you, and I had to tell him, and he kind of, I think he's considering it. I even told him, and I recognize like the hubris that is in this. Like, I think I know how you feel more than you do, but in this context, given that this is like a psychological thing that I looked into, and that I think he places way too much weight on him seeing the sun. And having that be the thing that changed his mind. And what I said was, you coming back and being met with the cult, it was looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
You were forced to look in the mirror, which forced the cognitive dissonance in, which breaks the chains and breaks the wall down. And he was like, yeah, you know what? Like, you're probably right, And I'm like, I really do. Because he kept saying, why did Globers never made, what he talked about was as if none of the Globers over the last 10 years ever made a good argument.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you said that, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and watch some of the debates. And the first debate I saw was, one of the focal points of it was, why is it in the northern hemisphere the stars rotate one way, and in the southern hemisphere they rotate the other way?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that by itself, you don't have to go to Antarctica. Just call one of your flat earther friends in Australia and they'll tell you, and then make sense of it. And then he explained, he's like, well, bro, imagine like right now, which way am I rotating? Clockwise or counterclockwise for you?
Counterclockwise for me.
It's clockwise for me. And he's like, see, it's rotating in one way, but based on perspective. And I'm like, but bro, you realize that what we're talking about is, this is the Earth, and this is the stars. So one person is here and one person's here. And I'm like, you recognize that's a fucking... like, are you saying that one person's here and one person's here? So are you saying the people in the South are on the bottom underneath the flat Earth?
Yeah.
And he like, Jaren.exe stopped working and he just wouldn't. And I'm like, see, so it's not about the evidence. It's not about argument or reason. Your brain, it's, honestly, I think because it came from me.
Yeah.
I think he was like, he kind of felt defensive and like I was a science cuck or whatever. And, but if I was like, hey, bro, here's a plate. Here's like a star transparency. Here's 2 action figures.
Yep.
Figure it out. He would figure it out because he needs to do it himself in order for that cognitive dissonance to happen. So anyway, it was interesting. If anyone comes to my stream, even when I'm not live, you do !Jaran, Jeran. That'll link you to the stream highlight. It's like 5 hours and 45 minutes long of the entire conversation and a little bit of my like post thoughts afterwards because I was like exhausted. But you'll see the fucking roller coaster of emotions that was.
Damn, that's cool though, man. I mean, I love it. Like, I love that you're doing it. I love that he's doing it. I love that like so much came out of the video you did, and like that actually some interesting stuff came out of the final experiment and stuff like that. So. That's cool. That is cool. But, well, that is the stuff for this week. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging. Once again, ! Jaran and Veritas to chat at any time to pull that up. If you want more podcast content, you can go to patreon.com/thepogcastpod or click the link down below and hop over to the Patreon. We got an exclusive Discord where you guys can chat. You can get early ad-free access to these episodes and even exclusive episodes only for the patrons over there. So thank you guys for the support. Thank you to HUEL for sponsoring this episode. And we will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.